There's nothing to downplay here. This is very scary. Fortunately, the tune is changing a little bit. The DEA has come forward in the last couple of days and released a statement confirming the presence of the Tren de Aragua gang. The Denver Police Department just issued a statement yesterday, while they are still saying that they're unaware of any apartment complexes that have been taken over. We at least have a first step that they have acknowledged that the Tren de Aragua gang is in Denver, as well as the city of Aurora. If you go on their social media pages and look at the statement that they released yesterday, they are now confirming the presence of the Tren de Aragua gang. So this gang has been confirmed. Their presence is confirmed. I think, this was something in the beginning. No municipality wants to admit to something like this.
All right, that is a congresswoman from Aurora, Colorado, talking about the Tren de Agua gang from Venezuela. Phil Collins once said, "It's no fun being an illegal alien." But apparently these Venezuelan immigrants ain't listening to him. Apparently they don't know Genesis. They're not fans of Genesis, no, because they seem to be going ham here in this country on some level. In Aurora, Colorado, there's been a lot of attention concerning illegal immigrants, particularly those from Venezuela, and not just in the last few months, but over the last year. Aurora has actually seen an influx of migrants, with estimates suggesting that more than 7,000 have arrived in the medium-sized city, primarily from Venezuela and Mauritania. Mauritania, that's random as hell. Like Mauritania. Good God. You guys know where Mauritania is, right? Come on, get your Jeopardy hats on. It's in Africa. It's on the west coast of Africa. It's in West Africa. So Mauritania is pretty far away. This has led to a strain on local resources, with nonprofits and the local governments they are scrambling to provide shelter, food, and job assistance for these people. Now, I wish they would scramble to provide shelter, food, and job assistance for American citizens, but that's neither here nor there. Now, the city of Aurora has taken a stance against becoming a de facto sanctuary city. Especially after Denver, Colorado, which actually is a sanctuary city, began housing migrants in Aurora facilities, leading to local displacement and resource allocation issues. Aurora City Council has passed a resolution symbolically opposing the influx of migrants, citing concerns over local services and finances. Obviously, we're having concerns with gangs. There's been reports of the Tren de Agua gang in Aurora. This gang is known for its criminal activities and has been linked to several incidents, including this accusation that the congresswoman was talking about, of them allegedly taking over this complex. Now, there is a lot of differing information going on here. The mayor of Aurora went on Fox News and said, yeah, it's happened. The gang has taken over, or at least is at this apartment complex, and they're running things. And then he did a double take. He did a 180 and said, maybe not, I don't know. The police chief has said no. This councilwoman is saying yes. All we know is we've seen actual video of a bunch of young men who look like they are of Hispanic descent. We all know that Hispanic isn't a race, but there is a certain, Hispanic swarthy look that, dark hair, right, sort of tan skin. So people are saying these are the Venezuelans. And they are and we see them holding assault weapons and busting into apartment buildings on surveillance. And so we know this. And so there are allegations that the government is trying to cover it up. There's allegations that the government is trying to fabricate things. I mean, this is really a this is really what you get when you start flooding your society with, you know, low wage, low skilled migration. This is exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get some legitimate complaints, and you're going to get some fabricated complaints. You're going to get a lot of controversy. That is the point. On some level, I feel I've always felt like when people like the Koch brothers, the Republican donors who helped the Clintons, yes, the Democrat Clintons, fund the Democratic Leadership Council in the 80s with the intention of pushing the Democratic Party to the right, which I say, hey, mission accomplished. Their plan was open borders. And the reason that their plan was open borders was to undermine social cohesion for working class and poor people in this country. Drive down wages, create instability in communities, create this sort of animosity and anxiety around immigration that you're seeing all over the Western world, that is leading to the type of right-wing fascism that we're seeing all over Europe starting to take place. And if Donald Trump gets elected in November, it will be largely because of, once again, the open border or the influx, the mass influx of immigrants. So we are seeing they're already having a huge effect on Aurora, Colorado, and places like that, but also New York City. You know, migrants make up 75% of the arrests in Midtown. That is what you're seeing from the New York Post. Police sources shared with the Post that a staggering estimate of as many of 75% of the people they've been arresting in Midtown Manhattan in recent months for crimes like assault, robbery, and domestic violence are migrants. In parts of Queens, that figure is more like 60%. The problem is allegedly being made worse by sanctuary city laws. Now, these sanctuary city laws essentially mean that New York cops aren't allowed to work with ICE on cases in which they believe suspects are in the country illegally. So they can't communicate with ICE. Additionally, the NYPD says it is barred from tracking the immigration status of offenders. So if somebody like robs you, sticks you up, sticks a knife in you, they can't even ask if he's illegal or not. Making matters worse, police say word has gotten out that in the shelters about the city's lax bail guidelines. So in the shelters, a lot of these people are learning that New York City has very lax bail guidelines. And they know that they're going to get put right back on the streets as soon as they get arrested. Now, a city hall spokesman has pointed to Eric Adams, who is the mayor of New York, from Jamaica, Queens. Not Jamaica, Jamaica. People are always very confused about that. Why is the mayor from Jamaica? No, he's from Jamaica, Queens. That's a part of New York. Now, he has called for the city council to change these sanctuary city laws. Last week, Eric Adams said, right now, we don't have the authorization to be able to go and coordinate with ICE. We have to follow the rules. So another Manhattan cop has said that excluding petty larcenies at drug stores, the number of local arrests involving the migrants is easily 75%, noting that most who get caught shoplifting go for the more pricey branded goods. And so you're seeing this happen in New York City. You're seeing prostitution, open prostitution. I've seen a lot of video online from in different social media where you can see a lot of the women are literally turning tricks out in the open. It looks like New York did in like the Taxi Driver days. One of my favorite movies of all time, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver with Jodie Foster. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And you notice what New York looked like back in the 1970s. It was very dark, very gritty. And that's what I'm seeing now. from New York City. New York City looks, with, you know, post-migrant, post the pandemic, it's starting to get that look again, where you're starting to see prostitution open, drug addiction open, homeless people open once again. And so, you know, Trim de Agua is also setting up shop in New York City as well. They've already been tied to hundreds of crimes, including the shooting of 2 NYPD cops who were trying to arrest a member in June. Also, they have been arming up to facilitate further terror in the city, smuggling guns into the shelters in food delivery bags to evade metal detectors. So I know everybody listening to this, or at least most of the people listening to this, are from this region in Northwest Indiana and Chicago. I know we go far out as I want to say somebody said they could hear us in Steiger, Illinois. So I know we go far out, and I don't know how far to the east we go. But even here in Northwest Indiana, we are not immune from this plague.
Statewide News Network covers Lake County, where the sheriff says a man is under arrest for stabbing a teenager. Investigators say this picture is from when 26-year-old Dimas Gabriel Yanez was taken into custody. Deputies tell us he was in the process of cutting his hair to change his appearance when he was arrested. And they say Yanez stabbed a 14-year-old girl who was watching her brother's baseball game in Lowell over the weekend. She has been treated and was released from the hospital. The sheriff says Yanez was deported to Honduras in 2018. Investigators believe he's been involved in criminal activity since illegally returning to the U.S.
So you hear it right there from the news. Lake County Sheriff Oscar Martinez Jr. announced on Monday that criminal charges have been filed against, 26-year-old Dimas Gabriel Yanez, who is accused of stabbing a 13-year-old girl in Lowell. This was on August 31st. Yanez faces 5 felony counts: attempted murder, level 1 felony, aggravated battery, posing substantial risk of death, which is a level 3 felony, battery resulting in serious bodily injury to a person under 14 years old, which is a level 3 felony, battery by means of deadly weapon, which is a level 5 felony, and intimidation, which is a level 5 felony. Thank you to our friends at the regionnewssource.org, which is a really good news site here. Region, if you want region-based news, Region News Source, they provide a lot of information on cases like that. So what happened was, on August 31st, at the Lowell Bluebirds softball field on Morse Street in Lowell, this teenage girl was sitting in the bleachers during the game when this guy, Dimas Yanez, approached from the wooded area and, according to the court documents, walked over to the bleachers and hovered over this girl while holding a large knife. I mean, just last week, go to my YouTube page, Scott Cannon Radio. Just last week, we talked about how many of our young girls are being preyed upon by creeps and how we need to protect them. And this story right here, he just walks over to the bleachers and starts standing over this young girl while holding a large knife, and he tried to stab her in the chest with the knife. She blocked it with her hand, causing numerous lacerations to her fingers. The mother of the teen heard this commotion and ran towards her daughter while her daughter was already running towards her. Yanez then charged towards her mom and attempted to stab her, but she eluded the attack. A third witness stated that what he believed saved this girl's life was that she had an umbrella in her hand that she used to prevent the knife from hitting her before using her hand to stop the knife. All 3 of these people then watched this man run away from the baseball field towards the hill and disappear. Yanez gave a statement to the police saying, "I came to the United States in 2022 from Honduras through Texas. I got rides to Colorado. Here we go, Colorado again. And took a train to Chicago. I knew that I was in between Chicago and Indiana. He stated that it was a female that he believed to be a minor that he caused harm to. Yanez said, I only pointed it towards her and she stopped it with her hand, and I saw her facial expression on the female that I caused harm to that made him feel uncomfortable. I'm guessing English is not his first language. He said, what I did was not intentional. Someone was following me and telling me to do it. Oh man, so we're talking about maybe some form of schizophrenia here. This is what we're bringing into the country. This is like when Fidel Castro in 1980 opened up the prisons and the sanitariums and just said, hey, have at it, baby. And had the Mario boat lift where you saw millions, I don't know if it's millions, thousands, let's go with thousands of people flood into the country. That actually was the basis for the movie Scarface with Tony Montana. And that was actually a big part of what started the sort of cocaine cowboy wars of the 1980s in Miami, Florida. Them and people like Griselda Blanco from Colombia, the Colombians, the Cubans, these people who came here with nothing, starting fighting these huge wars, these gang wars that caused so much chaos in these communities. And it all goes back to, again, a lack of institutional control over our immigration policy. Now, since this man, Yanez, was deported to Honduras in 2018, he re-entered the United States illegally and committed crimes in at least 5 states: Nassau County, New York, New York again, Madison County, Illinois, Cobb County, Georgia, Williams County, Ohio, and our very own county here, Lake County, Indiana. His criminal history includes battery, trespassing, intoxication, attempted burglary, and now attempted murder. During the weekend search for Yanez, we received intelligence that he had been classified as a risk to law enforcement, officer safety, and to national security due to documented ties to international gang MS-13. Good God. So this man is essentially a one-man crime wave, and all this is coming as the Biden administration, the Department of Homeland Security, is announcing $380 million in additional funding to communities receiving migrants. So it's no fun being an illegal alien. Yes. Wow. So again, this is to be expected on some level. The good, the bad, the ugly. Like I said, obviously there's always going to be a certain amount of fear mongering when it comes to mass immigration. There's always going to be some untrue stuff. There's always going to be some true stuff. But what you're going to get either way is chaos. And you have to ask yourself why these first world countries continue to do this. Why do you keep seeing all over Western Europe, all over the United States and Canada, why are these leaders continuing to bring waves of mass immigration in this country? And a big part of it is they want to continue to destabilize these people's home countries. Because that's really what causes it. That is why we talk about America's foreign policy so much on this show. This is why I'm so hard on NATO and those type of entities. They are the ones who destroyed Libya, the richest country in Africa, the country with the highest living standards in Africa. Muammar Gaddafi warned them. He said, if you guys get rid of me, Africa's going to, he said, Europe is going to turn black. He literally said that. Europe is going to turn black, because all those migrants from sub-Saharan Africa that I've been protecting and keeping safe from the racist slave traders, they are going to come to Europe. And that's exactly what happened. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, NATO, all these people decided that they had to kill Muammar Gaddafi because he wanted to unite Africa and start a gold standard so that the European and American countries could not get cheap oil for dollars anymore. They'd have to use the African dinar, the African gold dinar. And he wanted to unite Africa and create a strong African Union that would cut the United States and Western Europe out of cheap oil. And so Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and NATO killed him, causing a huge migrant crisis to Europe. And that's exactly what we do in Latin America as well. We destabilize these countries, we destroy their countries because we want their resources. And then we bring in all the people running from that to exploit them as cheap labor. And I played this clip before, but what did Dick Durbin, who is the senator right there over there in Chicago, in Illinois, right there across the border, why did he say that we needed all these illegal immigrants?
To remove from being an immigrant to this country. And yet there's been resistance throughout our history, unless we needed cheap labor to build the Transcontinental Railroad when we invited Chinese workers to come in. We treated them, unfortunately, in an inhumane fashion and didn't give them largely eligibility to become citizens. But we needed the labor, we needed the workers. It's happened many times before. What troubles me about the debate now about the southern border is it is one half of the immigration equation. Yes, we need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there is also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country.
And there you have it. There you have it. Cheap labor and a military force so they can continue to expand the military industrial complex. This is why Joe Biden is picking fights with Russia. This is why he's picking fights with the Iranians. This is why he's picking fights with the Chinese. This isn't a Democrats versus Republicans thing. Lindsey Graham is every bit the hawk that Joe Biden is. Mitch McConnell, all these people. This is why I tell people you got to decolonize your mind and stop giving into the two-party duopoly. The corporate elites could not care less about you with either party. And both parties are determined that they are going to do what it takes to keep money flowing into the military-industrial complex. And Americans have gotten sick of sending their children to go die in Afghanistan and Iraq and random countries. These people are going to import all these immigrants, sign them up to fight wars, and then sign them up to fight you. Because they have no allegiance to you. They don't care about you. They don't know you. It's a dirty game, y'all. It really is. It's a dirty game. Stay with us, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about, is Russia really funding right-wing influences in this country? If so, we'll see. We'll be right back after these.